Adrien Broner was never a man you could ignore. He didn't just enter a room, he burst into it, demanding every ounce of attention the air could hold. The bravado, the smirk, the endless stream of sound bites that made headlines as often as his fights. Love him or hate him, Broner thrived on being seen, on being heard. But today, there is nothing. No Instagram live, no flashy interview, no grainy video of him laughing in the backseat of a car. Just silence. And that silence is deafening. Somewhere behind closed doors, Adrien Broner is in critical condition. No statement from his team, no reassuring post telling fans not to worry. His family and closest friends have locked their lips tighter than a championship belt. It's as if the man who once made himself impossible to ignore has suddenly been erased from public view. And for someone like Broner, a man addicted to the spotlight, that's more than unusual, it's alarming. The rumors, of course, move faster than the truth ever could. A late-night collapse, found unresponsive in a hotel room, whispers about drugs, others about a mental health spiral that had been building for months. But there's no confirmation, not from police, not from doctors, not from anyone willing to put their name to the story. And so the mystery grows, swelling in the space between fact and speculation, leaving fans, haters, and the boxing world suspended in the same uneasy question. What happened to Adrien Broner? This isn't the first time his name has been linked to chaos. His career has been a pendulum, swinging wildly between brilliance and disaster. One moment, he's the golden boy, the next, he's drowning in headlines that have nothing to do with boxing. But this moment, this feels different. The silence surrounding him is heavier, more deliberate. It feels like the end of something, maybe the end of the fighter we once knew, or the end of the man behind the fighter. If you've followed Broner's journey, you know it was never just about the sport. The fights were one thing, but the performance, the attitude, the antics, the unfiltered defiance, that was the real show. He crafted a persona that was larger than life, because in his world, being ordinary was worse than losing. And for years it worked. The cameras followed, the crowds roared. Even his critics gave him what he wanted most, attention. But when the cameras aren't rolling, who is Adrien Broner? That's the question clawing at the edges of this story. For every clip of him dancing in victory, there were moments of pain that slipped through the cracks. Court cases, public breakdowns, battles with alcohol, admissions of depression that were often laughed off or buried under the next outrageous headline. We saw the highs, we saw the lows, but we never truly saw the man. And now, when he is silent, when the spotlight has gone dark, we are left to imagine what might be happening in the shadows. Maybe it's easier to remember the rise than to accept the fall. The hungry young fighter from Cincinnati. The prodigy compared to Floyd Mayweather. The one who promised the world he'd be the next great thing, and for a while, it looked like he would be. 4 world titles in 4 weight classes, fast hands, a mouth that could sell pay-per-views before a single punch was thrown. But success for Broner was never stable ground. It was a slippery stage, and with each step forward came the temptation to self-destruct. There's a strange cruelty in watching a fighter's life unfold in public. Every mistake is amplified. Every weakness becomes a headline, and Broner, for all his skill in the ring, seemed unable or unwilling to protect himself outside of it. He gave the world everything, the drama, the chaos, the unfiltered reality of a man who couldn't be anything but himself. But now, the very thing that built his name has vanished. No interviews, no bravado, no public reassurance that he's still in control, just nothing. And that's why this moment matters, because Adrien Broner's silence is not just a break in the noise, it's a break in the pattern. It forces us to ask questions he can't or won't answer. Has the weight of it all finally crushed him? Is this the consequence of years spent burning at both ends? Or is there something darker, something we can't yet see, playing out behind the scenes? In the coming minutes, we'll trace his story from the rise that made him a star, to the spiral that left him stranded, and to the possible truth behind this haunting silence. But make no mistake, the real answer may never be fully revealed. Because with Adrien Broner, the truth has always been a little out of reach, hiding in the space between the image and the man. And right now, that space has never felt more dangerous. By the time Adrien Broner turned 23, he was already living the kind of boxing career most fighters only dream about. 4 world titles in 4 different weight classes, undefeated, explosive in the ring, charismatic outside of it. The sport had crowned him its next great superstar, the heir apparent to Floyd Mayweather. And Broner didn't shy away from the comparisons. He embraced them, leaned into them, and built an identity around being not just a champion, but a showman. His entrances were spectacles, rap performances, outrageous outfits, gold chains catching the light, as if they were part of the fight itself. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to dominate, to humiliate opponents, to make every match an event that left the audience buzzing. And for a while it worked. Fans tuned in for the skill, the speed, the flash. Critics tuned in just to see if someone could shut him up. Either way, they watched, and that was exactly what Broner wanted. But there was a shift, a slow, almost imperceptible one at first. The man who once fought with laser focus began to show cracks. Fights were missed, sometimes without clear explanations. Training camps became inconsistent. His social media, once a calculated mix of self-promotion and trash talk, turned erratic. Livestreams would appear late at night, with Broner slurring his words, rambling, sometimes lashing out at invisible enemies. The tone changed from confident to chaotic. Then came the darker posts, the suicidal statements, the cries for help buried between jokes and bravado. Many brushed them off as just another stunt, another way to keep the spotlight. But to those paying attention, it was clear something was unraveling. The sharpness was gone, replaced by a man drifting in real time, and the world was watching. And here's the part no one likes to admit: the industry didn't just watch, it feasted. Promoters booked him not just for his skill, but for the drama he carried with him like a shadow. The media covered every arrest, every outrageous quote, every late-night rant. Headlines sold, views spiked. His breakdowns became a form of entertainment, and while the money flowed, few stopped to ask what it was costing the man himself, because chaos sells. Until it doesn't. As the years passed, Broner's circle began to shrink. Real friends, the ones who might have told him to slow down, to get help, quietly stepped away. In their place came the yes men, the ones who nodded along, laughed at every outburst, and never questioned the choices that were slowly dismantling him. His persona, once a weapon, became a mask, a way to hide the financial ruin, the legal trouble, and the creeping emotional collapse beneath the surface. The boxing world saw the warning signs: weight gain between fights, training camps that looked more like parties, a pattern of being pulled from scheduled bouts for medical reasons or mental health breaks, only to be rebooked as if nothing had happened. Insiders whispered about substance abuse, about lack of conditioning, about a mental health spiral that was worsening with each passing year. But nothing stopped the cycle. If Broner could still draw a crowd, someone would find a way to put him in a ring. And he kept stepping into that ring, sometimes physically present, but not truly there. The flashes of brilliance that had once defined him became rare, almost like ghosts of the fighter he used to be. In their place was a man trying to outrun himself, using the lights and the noise as a distraction from a truth he couldn't face. It was self-destruction in slow motion, a public unraveling so drawn out that it almost became normalized. The headlines, the arrests, the suspensions, they blurred together, losing their shock value. And maybe that was the most dangerous part. When the fall becomes familiar, when the crash no longer feels urgent, people stop reaching out a hand. Adrien Broner had built a career on never backing down, on always being the loudest voice in the room. But somewhere along the way, that voice stopped being about confidence. It became a shield, a desperate attempt to convince the world, and maybe himself, that he was still in control. Behind that shield, the man was alone. And now, with him in critical condition and the silence stretching on, it's hard not to wonder if this moment is the inevitable result of years spent teetering on the edge. Because while the industry profited from his chaos, and while fans and critics dissected his every move, the man himself was quietly disappearing. The escalation was obvious in hindsight. Fights canceled at the last minute. Appearances missed without warning. Stories of him vanishing for days, unreachable to even those closest to him. Whispers of addiction grew louder. Training footage, when it existed, showed a fighter far from peak condition. Still, the machine kept moving, booking him for matches, selling the spectacle, hoping for one more flash of the old Broner. But sometimes there is no return to form. Sometimes the fight outside the ring is the one that takes everything. And as we move deeper into his story, the question shifts. It's no longer just about what happened to Adrien Broner. It's about whether the man we once knew was ever meant to survive the world he built around himself. The whispers are turning into something heavier now. Not just rumors, but reports unconfirmed, yet insistent that Adrien Broner may be in a coma. Some say it was a seizure. Others claim a stroke. A few point toward an overdose. No one agrees, and yet they all share the same edge in their voice. The same tension that comes when you know the truth might be worse than the speculation. And still, no word from the people who matter most. Not his family, not his management, not the doctors who hold the charts and the answers. The silence remains absolute, as if speaking it aloud would make it real. For the fans, the dread is growing. For the boxing world, the unease is turning into something like guilt. Because deep down, everyone knew this could happen. For years, the warning signs flashed like sirens, and yet, no one pulled him off the road. Promoters kept booking the fights. Journalists kept chasing the headlines. Fans kept buying tickets, clicking the links, sharing the videos. We all watched the slow-motion collapse, frame by frame, and told ourselves it was entertainment. We called it the fight game, but outside the ring, no one really fought for him. Now, as Broner lies somewhere beyond the public eye, this isn't just about one man's downfall. It's a mirror held up to an entire culture, a culture that celebrates the warrior spirit, but shrugs at the human cost. Boxing has always been brutal inside the ropes, but what we rarely admit is how equally brutal it can be outside of them. When the bell stops ringing, when the gloves come off, the fighter is often left to face battles no audience will ever pay to see. Adrien Broner's life has been lived in extremes, from the electric highs of championship glory to the suffocating lows of public humiliation. But this moment is different. This isn't about image or ego or the next payday. This is about survival, and for the first time, he has no control over the story, no clever soundbite, no outrageous antic, no last-minute comeback can rewrite what's happening right now. Some will say this could be his wake-up call. That if he pulls through, he might finally see the damage, finally rebuild, finally choose life over spectacle. Others will say the damage has already gone too far, that this is not a warning, but the inevitable conclusion to years of neglect, both his own and that of the people around him. We don't know which is true, and maybe that's the hardest part, the waiting, the wondering, the realization that even those who claim to know him best are as in the dark as the rest of us. Adrien Broner has always controlled his own narrative, shaping it, bending it, weaponizing it to keep himself in the spotlight. But right now, the spotlight is out, and the only thing left is the fight for his life. If this is the end, it will be a tragedy not just for what he was, but for what he could have been. If it's not, if he rises from this moment, it will take more than talent to save him, It will take a reckoning with the truth he's avoided for years. Because the real opponent has never been another fighter across the ring. The real opponent has been himself, and the army of enablers, exploiters, and silent bystanders who watch the cracks spread without ever stepping in to stop them. Right now, Adrien Broner's story hangs in the balance. The headlines will keep guessing, the rumors will keep swirling, and the silence from those who know the truth will keep pressing down like a weight on everyone watching. But one thing is certain: the fight that matters most is no longer for titles or glory or redemption in the ring. It's for breath, it's for consciousness, it's for life itself, and for once, the outcome isn't up to him.